What does quantum physics have to do with Jesus Christ? Everything. This dude's not about to talk about toroids again, is he? Listen close. A sperm cell is a seed. And this seed doesn't just get to turn into a human by default, like just because it's a seed. Jesus said, except a kernel of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abides alone. The equivalence here for the sperm is that it has to make it into the egg. All right, that's the ground the sperm has to die in to be born again. And ye must be born again, Jesus said, which means that as the sperm is a seed, so too is the human a seed. The human also must be born again. But wait, humans die. But wait, the sperm dies when it reaches the egg in the zinc flash, gets blown to a billion pieces. And the egg takes that genetic information that got blown all over its walls in the zinc flash. I might be being a little dramatic there. Uses the DNA from the father, the DNA from the mother, and builds the sperm seed a new body so that it can be born again. Well, quantum physics, not biology, right? The sperm falls into the ground, the egg, and dies. And the body that is built in the mother's womb is built by cell division, okay? One single cell starts dividing and a whole body gets born. But wait, that is not cell division right there. That's hydrogen probability density. Oh, that's just hydrogen wave function. Why am I pointing at this cell division right here that you can clearly see as cell division, but it's not, it's an atom. You see, depending on how fast it's vibrating, a hydrogen atom can either be a solid, a liquid, a gas, or plasma. So that the atom is not solid. Solid is a state that the atom can be in. It can also be liquid, gas, or plasma. And this all depends on how fast it's vibrating or how fast the electron is orbiting the nucleus, though it's not orbiting, that's just the word we use because it's relative to the solar system. But atoms are very clearly spheres that go through toroidal wave function. What about the particles? Are they spheres and toroids also? What's toroids got to do with all this? Well, the point of toroid is the wave function. You see what a toroid does? Yes, it's a sphere, but because it's also toroidal in nature, it goes through wave function, and this is toroidal wave function. I might be using that word sloppily. I'm just a simple bushman. Your traffic lights and shopping malls scare me. I don't care what you call it. This is toroidal wave function because it's wave function and it's a toroid. Atoms and subatomic particles aren't spheres, and what's that even got to do with it, you might say? Well, hold on. Yes, they are. Atomic particles like protons, neutrons, and electrons are typically considered to be spherical in shape. Although due to their wave-like nature, electrons can exhibit more complex shapes depending on their energy level within an atom. For example, they can appear as dumbbells or cloverleaf patterns in certain orbitals, like I have shown you here. Key points about atomic particle shapes: spherical approximation. For most basic representations, we picture atomic particles as perfect spheres. We already talked about electrons. What about the other particles? Because of their extremely small size, it's difficult to definitively describe the exact shape of subatomic particles. Because just like atoms, subatomic particles are no such thing as solid. Neither do they have a state known as solid. That's an atomic state, not a subatomic state. There's nothing solid down at this level. What it is squiggles. Look at the squiggles, fellas. What kind of squiggles? Toroidal. You got electrons and positrons. You got muons and dows. You got that up quark, that down quark, the charm, the strange, the top, the bottom quarks. Wait, why does that look like biology again? Okay, so the particles are perfect spherical toroids. Okay, so the atoms are perfect spherical toroids. What does hydrogen probability density have to do with Jesus Christ? It's a 10-minute video. I'm gonna explain it all the way. Take one last gander at the hydrogen wave function, the progression of the shapes as it progresses through. It's a sphere by shape. It's a toroid by process. Here is the process you can clearly see with your own eyes that I'm making nothing up. Here is cell division as the mother's womb builds the body for that seed that died in the egg. A sphere in toroidal wave function. And you see here how the cell is a relative structure to the atom. The atom goes through toroidal wave function to produce reality itself, and I mean matter, states of matter. The subatomic particles in their toroidal wave functions produce atoms. Atoms in their toroidal wave function produces the different states of matter, because atoms are matter. The particles produce the atoms, the matter. The atoms are able to combine with one another to form into molecules, same toroidal wave functions involved, to build the matter into structures. in the same relative way that cell division produces bodies. Relative being the key word. It's the same structure on every level, a toroidal sphere. What level it's on decides what job it has. If that toroidal sphere is a particle, well, its job is in the atom, that the atom can exist. If it's an atom, well, its job is in the molecule, so that the molecules can exist. If it's a cell, it's to build bodies, so that bodies can exist. All by toroidal wave function. This is how this is all done on every level. Speed round. The moon displays the toroidal wave function in its 8 phases. That's just a trick of light. Doesn't matter. It's still the wave function of the moon. Not the only one, but a very clear, obvious example. The sun has its wave function. It's called solar maximum and solar minimum. Maximum, minimum, maximum, minimum. Even if this is not apparent to our eyes, it actually is, because the discharges increase in maximum. The energy of the sun clearly ramps up during solar maximum. Just like the lunatics all go wild on a full moon. What about the Earth? Well, you see, we have the 4 seasons. Not at the equator. Well, that's binary. That only helps my story. But spring, summer, fall, and winter, spring, summer, fall, and winter, springs, it's a toroidal wave function of the Earth itself. The Earth is a spherical toroid. Look at the magnetosphere. Magnetosphere. Observe the wave function of spring, summer, fall, and winter. Birth, growth, entropy, death. You must be born again because it's a wave, man. Life is a wave, and death is not the end of that. According to Jesus Christ, just like the sperm dies to become the human is supposed to die to become the angel or the spirit from heaven. Not born from the earth, born again from heaven. You must be born again. Remember I said atoms were relative structures to the solar system itself. Look, the solar system's wave function as a toroidal sphere, dipping in and out of the condensed gravity of the galactic plane on a schedule, like this. And that's because the galaxy itself is a toroidal sphere. And if you're having a problem understanding that, just observe how a toroidal sphere becomes a pancake. And once more, just like cell division in biology, or wave function in atoms, the universe can also be shown to be a toroid going through toroidal wave function, a process of organization. But wait a minute, information is lost in entropy. That's part of the process for new growth. Everything dies in the winter if you actually have winter where you are, so that in the spring it can put out new growth and get bigger. Year by year by year, this keeps happening. It gets bigger and big. This is how trees grow. Spring, birth. Summer, growth to the peak. Fall, entropy. We're going to lose that peak now towards death, winter. This is clearly a toroidal wave function. Ye must be born again. Once more, observe the toroidal wave function in a star. Spring, birth. Summer, growth. Fall, entropy. Winter, death. Ye must be born again. If I haven't blown your mind already, this is sacred geometry right here. Notice that it exactly matches cell division and toroidal wave function in atoms and particles. How did the ancients know about cell division, hydrogen wave function, cosmological evolution, the life cycle of a star? Those poor primitive fellas only knew sacred geometry. They knew everything. The big deal with religion, the reason that it's everywhere, all the time, is because they've been knowing about an afterlife this whole time. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. I just showed it unto you. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. The invisible things are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. The atoms, the cells, the earth, the moon, the sun, the solar system, the stars. How do you suppose they know what particles they're looking for when they're crashing ions together at the Large Hadron Collider at CERN? They've known this math all along, fam. Because the invisible things of creation are clearly seen and understood by the things that God made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Here's looking at you, academia. What we see here is the gospel of Jesus Christ on all levels. When Jesus said the rocks themselves can cry out to give God glory, so can the trees and the birds and everything else. The whole universe is doing exactly what God said it would do. It's going through spring, summer, fall, and winter. Like a garment, the heavens shall wax old, and God shall fold them up. You must be born again. He's going to make heaven and earth new. Everything obeys the commands of Jesus Christ or perishes. But if it obeys, it is born again. And that might be relative on the level of particles and atoms. but it's dead literal on the level of men. Follow Jesus.